Up next on Sunday Sports Day, let the games begin as the Cats and the Hogs scrap for the top spot in college hoops, while the Gators try to feast on the Blue Devils. But was that possible? Dick and Digger join us to review all the action. Something old and something new in the women's championship game this afternoon. Was there a payoff in the playoff race for the Hornets and the Pacers? We'll also review Coach Magic Johnson's inaugural week. The President's Cup is at stake for the Rangers and the Devils. Michael's heading south for spring. There's no JR in this Dallas soap opera, but we've got Jimmy.
It's just a matter of we've gone through a little transition here.
Jerry
was a big-time, genuinely meant thank you, Jimmy, for everything that has happened.
And now Barry.
We got a job to do, and we're going to do it, baby!
Join in on the festivities next.
Sports Weekly is presented by Delta Airlines. You'll love the way we fly.
Good morning. I'm Dick Schaap with Robin Roberts in Charlotte on this Easter morning, and welcome to Sunday Sports Day, April 3rd, 1994. 2.5 hours of news, views, reviews, and previews, highlights and sidelights, cheers and jeers. The President of the United States is on a roll, on the basketball court anyway. He'll be coming back to Charlotte tomorrow to see his Arkansas Razorbacks bid for their first National Collegiate Basketball Championship. The Hogs are 3-0 with the President in attendance this season. Robin, do you think they're going to make it 4?
I think it's a distinct possibility when you have Corliss Williamson and you've got the outside play and you've got Nolan Richardson on the bench. And I know it's a bit of an inconvenience. We had to get there early for the game, but I tell you what, it's exciting to have the President in the building.
It's probably exciting to have Grant Hill at Duke, too.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. We'll get to Arkansas in just a moment, but let's begin with Saturday's nightcap between Florida and Duke. Early on, it looked like the Gators were the ones with all the Final Four experience. They were hoping to continue that magical run in the tournament. Duke has been here a time or two before. Andrew the Clerk setting the tone early. The emphatic slam over Antonio Lang. The Clerk made his mark defensively. Oh, the great block from behind on Marty Clark. Clark, Lon Kruger's team up 7 at the break. The Clerk again, the layup and the foul. Florida up 13. But Coach K has been down this road a time or two before. Oh, that's the man, Grant Hill. Blue Devils down by 3. Hill just took over in the second half. Duke takes a 61-60 lead. Florida responds. Craig Brown hits the 3. Gators back up by 1. Duke's turn now. This isn't a freshman. Jeff Capel puts the Blue Devils back on top. Big play, closing seconds. Cherokee Parks puts in his own miss. Blue Devils up 68-65. One last chance for Lon Kruger's team, but Antonio Lang draws the charge on Craig Brown, and Duke does it again. 70-65 is the final. Grant Hill with 25 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists as Duke advances to the championship game for the 4th time in the last 5 years, thanks in part to Cherokee Park's big basket late.
We jumped on Grant's back and told him to take us to the promised land. Grant has done it all year, and he was feeling it. So we just gave him the ball and just watched him. And he made some good decisions, some great decisions.
The game was in the second half, and I tried to just be real active and do whatever it would take for us to win.
I saw Jeff driving, and I knew there was somebody behind me, and I wasn't sure who he was going to pass it to, so my momentum was already going towards the bucket, and I put that up, and I could tell as soon as I let go, it wasn't going to go in. So fortunately, it just rimmed out and rimmed my way.
It seems like Duke is always here. This is Duke's 7th trip to the Final Four since 1986, which is more appearances than any conference during that 9-year span. All right, the first game of the night featured top-ranked Arkansas and Arizona feisty early on. Corliss Williamson and Reggie Geary going at it. Geary is simply psych. He blocks Williamson from behind in the long outlet to Khalid Reeves. Then Damon Stoudemire misses a 3, but who was there? Geary with the follow-up. Arizona by 5. Alex Dillard, oh, he can nail the long 3 right in front of Arizona's bench. Another long bomb. Arkansas up 11. Arizona closed the gap before the half. Corey Beck stripped. Stoudemire scoreless at this point. Not anymore. Nails a 3 to tie it at the half. Arizona will take on a run off the inbounds. Geary drives and dishes to Ray Ose, who jams. Arizona up by 5, but Arkansas took control. Darnell Robinson down low, the hoop, the foul, and a little dance. And then Corliss Williamson with the steal. Takes it in for the jam. And the Wildcats were bumming at this point. President Clinton, oh yeah, he's happy. 91-82 is the final. Corliss Williamson lived up to his big, nasty billing. 29 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists. Arkansas advances to its first ever NCAA championship. And the big nasty is a big reason why.
Power forward, in college basketball. I think there's some guys who play power forward, but won't be power forward to the next level. And I think he's really a true power forward and probably the best one.
I don't know how a guy can play better than what Corliss did against us today, and he's such a quality young man too. It's nice to see good people be successful like he is.
After playing against Michigan, the way they doubled down really hard, they really prepared me for a game like the one we had today. And when those guys started doubling down, at first I struggled a bit and threw a couple of turnovers, but I was able to adjust, and guys were cutting into the basket. We were getting the easy shots.
And we will return to Charlotte throughout the morning. Dick Vitale and Digger Phelps will join me a bit later. Right now, let's go back to Jack Edwards, who's keeping an eye on matters for us there. And good morning, Jack.
Good morning, Robin. Let's go pro. When would you rather be hot in an NBA season? During the college football season or during baseball season? The Houston Rockets ripped off 15 straight wins to begin the campaign back in November. If New York could beat Miami last night, the Knicks would equal the season's longest win streak. It was a late start due to the circus being at Madison Square Garden, and Patrick Ewing not ready for a 3-ring circus. He rings one off the iron on the dunk attempt, but the Knicks defense is always there. Derek Harper goes in for the layup. Bill Murray with a drifter who just got into Madison Square Garden. Keith Askins asking for more. Yes, the human equivalent of the victory cigar. Eric Anderson gets into the game and hits from long distance. Yes, the Knicks are white hot, and they win it by 23. Patrick Ewing's line, 15 points, 11 rebounds, 6 blocks. The Knicks' 15-game winning streak is the second longest in franchise history, 3 shy of the mark set by the 1970 team, which won the NBA championship. Golden State at Seattle. George Karl and the Sonics looking for their 9th in a row. Golden State helping out. Latrell Sprewell to no one, and then Billy Owens to no one. Warriors 31 turnovers. Seattle 20 steals and rubbing their face in it. Yes, this is Shawn Kemp going off in a 10-point victory. Kemp hits 10 out of 14 from the floor for his season-high 32 points to go with 12 rebounds, 4 steals, and 1 message-sending flagrant foul. Chris Webber grabs 16 boards for Golden State. To hockey now. The Rangers have put away their plane tickets for the remainder of the NHL.
Many thought it would be the North Carolina men that will be competing for a national championship here in Charlotte, North Carolina, but instead, it's the North Carolina women who are 40 minutes away from their first NCAA championship. We'll take a look at their game against Purdue. Charlotte Smith, oh yeah, that's why she wears number 23, slamming in the pregame warm-ups. Carolina loaded with talent, like freshman Marion Jones, a world-class sprinter. Here's an example of what she can do. Heels up 2 at the break. Lynn Dunn says, come on, use your head. Second half, Purdue makes its run. Jennifer Jacoby the swipe. Stacey Lovelace gets the hoop. Purdue up 2. Time for Charlotte Smith to go to work. The drive and the layup. The jumper. Hits it from the top of the key. Smith with 23. North Carolina dances to the final. 89-74 is the final. Charlotte Smith with 23. Marion Jones and Tanya Sampson each added.
New save, but it comes right to Muggsy Bogues. Floater hits. Hornets down only 3 at halftime, but Rodman goes off to David Robinson. He hammers it down for 2 dozen. A career-high 8 assists for Rodman, hitting Nigel Knight. Spurs win by half a dozen. Rodman was the only Spur who didn't score. He did grab 20 boards. Here are the scores from the hardwoods and the hockey rinks. championship game. Lake Superior State against Boston University. Lake State's Blaine Latchner tough in the goal. This one turned in the second period. 3 unanswered power play goals for Lake State to go out to a 6-1 lead. And Sean Tolaire continues the abuse. 2 on the night. Lake State goes on to win it 9-1. Lake Superior State wins its 2nd national championship in 3 years. Lakers had 13 overtime games this season, including each of their previous 3 in the tournament. The 8-goal margin of victory was the biggest in an NCAA title game in 33 years. Still to come on this Sunday Sports Day, Mickey Mantle, another great athlete with an alcohol problem. No longer residing at the Mistake by the Lake, the Cleveland Indians opened their new ballpark yesterday in front of capacity 44,000. It's asymmetrical, has a high wall in left, brings the fans close to the action, and has 14 different kinds of beer at some concession stands. The days of empty seats outnumbering the fans 10-1 are done. The Blue Jays put closer Dwayne Ward on the disabled list. Looks as if Todd Stottlemyre is their closer for now. We remind you as you look at yesterday's scores, one league's grapefruit, the other's cactus. They played these games just for practice. Season begins tonight exclusively on ESPN. John Miller and Joe Morgan call the first Sunday night season opener in Major League history, starting at 8 Eastern time on the Total Sports Network. You shoot 20 under par for 4 rounds of golf at the TPC, you ought to feel pretty good. Fuzzy Zeller does, after winning more than $250,000, but finishing second. As Linda Cohn brings us the week in review, she tells us about Zeller's second place behind Greg Norman's awesome march toward the Masters.
A tumultuous welcome was in order for Greg Norman at Sawgrass Sunday, and deservedly so. The Shark had blitzed the field in the TPC in posting a record score of 24 under par. Counting play from the previous week's Nestle, Norman played 92 consecutive holes of bogey-free golf. What happens when the cheering stops? In a rare interview this week, Mickey Mantle recounted his bout with alcoholism and the demons that have haunted him since his retirement.
It got pretty bad. I mean, I got so bad, I couldn't even, people would tell me I did things, you know, and I couldn't remember. I used to have that reoccurring dream that I was trying to get back into the ballpark. I could hear Casey and the team out there playing, and all the gates were locked, and I had to try to sneak through a hole in the fence.
And from our short list, Dale Earnhardt takes his 60th Winston Cup checkered flag in winning the Trans-South 400 at Darlington. The tradition lives on in Rancho Mirage as Donna Andrews birdies the home hole and takes the plunge at the Dinah Shore. Villanova rallies from a 17-point deficit to take the measure of Vanderbilt in the NIT final. 7-1 GW pivot man Yinka Dore dares to go pro, announcing he'll enter the NBA's June. Four-time champ Roberto Duran decks Terry Thomas for his 93rd career win and 64th knockout. Still hampered by a torn muscle in his lower back, 1992 champ Freddie Couples is forced to withdraw from this week's Masters. To honor his recent accomplishments, Bruce McNall rolls out a rolls for Wayne Gretzky. License plate reads, Goal 802. And ready for the bus ride? It's official. Michael Jordan is demoted to AA Birmingham.
What everyone expected of me in terms of either failure or embarrassing myself. I don't think I've done that.
And Nolan Ryan comes back to throw out the first ball Friday at the Rangers' new ballpark in Arlington. Way to be, Nolan.
An MRI revealed that Couples' problem was a herniated disc, by the way. Coaching clan hires the moving vans. Kevin O'Neill jumps from Marquette to Tennessee. Ralph Willard heads to Pitt. Rick Barnes leaves Providence for Clemson. Pete Gillen leaves Xavier for PC. Mike Dean dumps Siena for Marquette. We're headed back to Charlotte for more from the Final Four. Digger Phelps and Dick Vitale analyze the action when this Sunday Sports Day continues.
Is presented by Delta Airlines. You'll love the way we fly. And brought to you in part by Citibank Visa. Now with your photo and signature on the front for greater security. Not just Visa, Citibank Visa. Plus Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Welcome back to Charlotte, everyone. After a late night, the city is slowly beginning to rise and shine, like these two gentlemen to my left right now. And where you guys been? I missed you.
Happy
Good morning.
Easter.
Happy Easter to you, too.
Yes.
We could excuse Corliss Williamson if he wanted to sleep in this morning. He had a really tough night last night, and he proved why he is the SEC Player of the Year.
Well, Robin, he's such a dominant player on the interior. He gets great post position. And I thought in the matchup against Arizona, he was so dominant in many, many phases. Number one, when we talk about Corliss, we know he can post up inside and score. We watch him working on the interior. There he is, locks inside. There's the little left hand. Very tough on the interior. Now we're going to watch him go to the offensive boards. And he's going to show another dimension to his game. But this was the big part of his game. Watch him step out. Here it is, freezes, and he's looking for the winner. He's looking for Nolan Richardson's main man. He's going to dump it down to Corey Beck. And CB takes it up and scores, baby. I'll tell you, Corliss Williamson, to me, has become one of the real power-dominant players in America. Remember, he was out with an injury last year, and therefore didn't play a full season. So this is a very young player who just keeps getting better and better and better.
That's true.
I also thought, Dick, that in that game, Scotty Thurman really made sure that get the right shot at the right time. Don't force the threes. I thought the two key jumpers he hit in that stretch dive when they came from behind was a part of their arsenal just to come after, get Arizona in trouble and win the game.
He's a crunch player.
That he
really
is. And so was Grant Hill, the ACC Player of the Year. I had a chance to speak with him after his game. He was tired. I mean, he played all 40 minutes, but he is so vital to Duke.
Well, he took the game over himself. He just knew that for me to win, Duke wins. And I think he just found the energy to make himself what he really is, more than a great player. The super reason why they're in the final game. Watch him here, coming off the baseline screen, hits the jumper when you need it. That was a big basket in his stretch dive when they were down 13. Now he makes his move one-on-one. Watch how he reads and slices through, comes back with a whirl move right here. NBA stuff right there. Great play inside. Now the defense, knowing as Boston College went to Brown, coming off the same type of play, working to get open. Watch the defense. Brown takes him into the paint, comes off the screen, Hill's a little behind, but watch how he recovers to get a piece of the ball. Yes, and that's why Duke with their defense and Grant Hill with his offense and Grant Hill with his defense is why Duke is just a great team. When you look at his stats, 25 points, but his 5 assists, same thing. He finds the open person. He knows how to read. He knows how to dish it. He knows how to rebound. But the most important thing is when he came in and did what he had to do, Marty Clark comes in, comes up with a big steal. And I think that is what they're going to need as you look at how much juice do they have left to do?
Then Antonio Lang, the other senior, comes in, gets that key charge. I mean, all 3 seniors really contributed.
Well, Robin, you look at their record, the 3 seniors. They're 18-1 in a postseason. The only L was to California and Jason Kidd and company. And to me, that's an amazing achievement.
All right, gentlemen. Well, we're not through talking with you, but take a little break, and we'll hear from you a bit later. We'll return in just a bit with more Final Four news and notes from these two guys. But first, let's hear from Jimmy Johnson, who is no longer with the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, I want his hair. I want his hair.
No one incident brought us to where we are today.
Among the transactions this week in the NFL, Atlanta waves goodbye to Bobby Hebert after acquiring Jeff George in trade. The Patriots give Jet disappointment Blair Thomas a chance, and the Eagles acquire ex-Oiler William Fuller to fill the holes of a rapidly departing defense. But the biggest transaction of all came from Dallas, where Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson decided they couldn't hold their noses and tolerate each other in pursuit of an unprecedented 3rd straight Super Bowl title.
No one incident brought us to where we are today. But I do believe this, because we were somewhat, I guess, forced to sit down and be as candid with one another as we've ever been as far as our emotions, what we like about each other, what we don't like about each other. I mean, we were as open as we have ever been in all of our relationship.
We have mutually agreed that if we don't look out, we'll take one of the greatest stories that's ever been told in sports, in my view, and we'd take all the positives of that. We'd take there are no negatives when you really look at it. But we'd take all the positives of that and maybe take it on into something that in our judgment and in our instincts, we didn't think was going to be what's in the best interest of the Dallas Cowboys.
Personally, it was a time that I felt like I needed to pull back some. Part of my personality, I think anybody that knows me, they know that I have to go 100% totally focused, totally into it, or else I'm not going to be as good as I need to be. Because he is as driven as what he is to be the very best, and I'm as driven as what I am to be the very best, that's probably when we knocked heads a time or two. If either one of us would have been lacking in that drive, we probably would have never, ever accomplished the 2 Super Bowl victories. There's no blame. It's just a matter of we've gone through a little transition here. Well, maybe it's a big transition, but hey, the Dallas Cowboys will be right on top, and so there's no blame.
Well, there's not much question who the public blames. According to an ESPN Chilton sports poll, almost 1 out of every 2 people answering the survey felt that Jerry Jones was the more responsible of the 2 principals for causing the breakup. Fewer than 1 in 8 feels Johnson was to blame. You gotta wonder, when alphabetical order made these guys road trip roommates in college, if the lights stayed on all night because neither one would acquiesce and get out of bed to turn it off. Bob Lee puts perspective on the week which extinguished the working relationship.
No one incident brought us to where we are today.
Jimmy Johnson was sick to death of this relationship. He was sick to death of this situation. And he finally just said, I can't take it anymore.
The 2 men had not had a sit-down face-to-face meeting since training camp. They are complex and volatile.
I think I understand him as well as I'll ever understand him.
Well, I understand all I need to understand, and all that I really care to understand.
We understand that both of us are driven and very egotistical. At times, you know, I enjoy Jerry. At times, yeah, he's irritating, but I'm sure there are many times that I'm irritating to Jerry.
It was beyond irritation. The implosion of the Super Bowl champions' leadership came to light last week over a trivial barroom slight. Later that night, Jones, it was reported, talked of firing Johnson.
On an off-the-record basis, I basically, which is something that I do quite often, tossed a lot of things around regarding the Cowboys, the league, the NFL, and that was one of them, but that wasn't given any serious consideration on my part.
As far as this smokescreen that it was off the record, I mean, does that mean that you don't have to tell the truth? Does that mean that you're going to lie?
You know what Orlando did? It made Jimmy look at Jimmy. He really started this thing spinning toward its conclusion today by snubbing Jerry. He's done a lot of things behind the scene that were really ugly and evil.
Johnson had already openly discussed his interest in the Jacksonville head coaching job. Jones, having restructured the Cowboys front office and the balance sheet, was a constant figure on the Dallas sidelines.
I don't think that I would have bought the Dallas Cowboys had I not been very interested and wanted to be involved in the coaching and very involved in the management of the team.
You know, a lot of people had a misconception. You know, they looked at it as being a, quote, friendship, and I was the coach because I was Jerry's friend. Well, we have a friendship, but I'm the coach because Jerry felt like I'd be the best guy to be the coach.
This relationship from the start contained the bristling brilliance of Jones' business sense and Johnson's coaching. It produced 2 coveted championships and the seeds of its own destruction. Jones says Johnson's departure will keep that relationship intact.
Next, the man who has been hired to fill Jimmy Johnson's shoes. He's got to meet a high standard.
I hope I can do as good a job as Jimmy Johnson. That's what you're hoping, and that's damn sure what you're hoping.
Hi, I'm Johnny. Back with the Cowboys, had he known Jimmy Johnson was about to depart? How about Troy Aikman? The question of how the players will respond to the coaching change won't be answered for a while, but opinions are forming pretty quickly.
Mike, can we talk to you for a second? No! And you can't come in here because I'm getting you. Champ, stay out. All y'all, stay your asses out. Locker room off limits. Locker room off limits. I'm claiming them off limits. Everybody out. Hey, if you're not, boss man, are you a player? Let's go out. I'm bringing the locker room off limits. Let's go. Hey, I think I'm playing with y'all or something. Hey, get your ass back.
Not everyone was as reluctant to speak about Switzer being named head coach.
He is, in my opinion, and of the head coaches that I have had, he is, without question, the best motivator that I've been around. And that's just a matter of, I think, the charisma that he possesses. I think the honesty that he reveals to his players. And there are other players or former players that have played under him that I think would agree with that.
We still have a very, very, very good team. Coaching staff, I believe, is still intact. And as long as that is intact, we just have to, we just got our orders coming from a new guy.
The flashy, trash can tossing Michael Irvin is the kind of player who gravitated to Jimmy Johnson. The Cowboys have had a certain swagger ever since they climbed into the playoffs 3 seasons ago. Dallas was another example of a team taking on the personality of its coach. The switch to Switzer means that the Oklahoma University legend will have to come up with the same answer to the equation while solving it in completely the opposite direction. Barry Switzer made his name as one of the most run-oriented coaches in college football. One year, he ran the ball 92.7% of the time, not far above his average at OU. In 1993, the Cowboys ran on only 51% of their plays. The league, 47. So the coach will change to fit the team, not the other way around.
Things will remain the same. That's the thing that the coaching staff and the team is excited about. There's not going to be any changes. We're going to run the same playbooks, the same defense.
He made it clear that we were not going to change the things that we've been doing. I think that what you've got to realize is that, you know, Ernie Zampese has just been brought in. We've been running an offense under Norv Turner's guidance for the last 3 years. It has been very successful for us, and then Norv learned from Ernie.
Before Zampese helped John Robinson make a successful transition from a run offense to a pass offense with the Rams, he coached in San Diego, where, yes, he had an option play in his offense.
New offense? Joe, don't bring that up. Wishbone, don't eat. That scared me. I knew that was coming.
The Cowboys have come of age. Switzer has to keep them at their peak.
Some people may say, hey, a coach has got to coach defense or offense. Baloney. You got to get a player to believe in you. If he goes out and plays hard, he's going to tackle, he's going to catch the pass, he's going to make the block. But the coach that gets his players motivated, just like Jimmy Johnson did, they're going to be the ones that win.
What you want is someone who can manage players, get players to play, organize a staff, motivate, and there's nobody better than Barry Switzer. He was great at the University of Oklahoma. He's an outstanding football coach. He's not a wishbone football coach. This guy knows a lot of football. He'll be a great choice.
One current GM who asked not to be identified says of Switzer, he's a great people guy, but as a coach, he's too laid back. There's no way you can take that approach and win in this league, and no way does he have Jimmy Johnson's intensity. The differences between Barry Switzer and Jimmy Johnson will dominate discussions of the Cowboys this season. Switzer must change his style while changing levels, all in an effort to be the same.
I hope I can do as good a job as Jimmy Johnson. That's what you're hoping, and that's damn sure what you're hoping. You got it. That's why I'm here.
It is time for Face-Off, and the question that's running through the minds of Troy Aikman, Emmett Smith, Michael Irvin, and most football fans is, can the Dallas Cowboys win an unprecedented 3rd straight Super Bowl without Jimmy Johnson? Can Barry Switzer and Jerry Jones keep the Cowboys at the top? That's the subject of our Face-Off today between Bob Ryan of the Boston Globe and Mitch Albom of the Detroit Free Press, and Ryan leads off.
Mitch, in a word, no. I don't think they can do it. One reason I think this is a very peculiar appointment, the man's been out of football for 6 years. That's number one. And here's another thing. What he knows about a passing game, as I said, would fit in the navel of a flea. He knows nothing about passing, and if you don't know about passing game, you're not a pro coach.
Well, Bob, he may not have been my first choice, but let me ask you a question. Is Marv Levy a good coach?
I'd say so.
Yes. Has he won the Super Bowl? No. The reason why players still win Super Bowls. Players are on the roster of the Dallas Cowboys. It's not as if Switzer's going to never show up, and he'll do some coaching, but as long as you've got Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and the rest of that squad, they got the players to get back to that Super Bowl.
They have great players, but I think those players also drew some strength from the coach. I think Jimmy Jones, I think it was a very ideal overall top-to-bottom situation in that team, and there's something about Jimmy Johnson that inspired confidence in these players. That by this time into their tenure, it was symbiotic.
But mostly what they want to do is win because of the glory and the money and all the rest of it. They don't need a coach to pull them together. They're professionals. They can get back to without him. There are a lot of guys on that team who didn't even like him.
You're giving these guys too much credit. These are football players we're talking about. Their whole life is program regimentation. They have to believe in the leader. And I don't think there's any way they're going to have one
Have you forgotten the fact that the Oakland A's won a couple of championships in a row, 3 in a row with 2 different managers?
Mitch,
different sport. It is totally different dynamics.
Do you think they'd win 3 in a row even if they had Jimmy Johnson?
Yeah.
You think they would?
Yeah.
Even though no one has ever...
Well, then you shouldn't change because of the coach.
We've got them both agreeing on something.
No.
Michael Wilbon of the Washington Post will join Bob and Mitch on the Sports Reporters, which is coming up on the hour. They'll all look inside the end of the college basketball season and the start of the Major League Baseball season, and they'll also look inside Jerry or Jimmy Jones, whatever his name is. Jack?
All right, Dick. And when we come back, a look back at Magic's comeback. As a coach, he's 3-1 after a week. Not a bad start. The old boys are playing a major, or would that be a grandfather slam tournament? Raymond Floyd has the lead in spite of bogeying the 18th yesterday. Floyd has been in the top 10 in 20 of his last 23 senior events. Well, if Hillary Rodham Clinton were buying NBA futures, she probably would have dumped the Knicks when John Starks went down. A lot of people thought New York would fade when the spark plug guard hit the injured list with knee surgery. But as Carl Ravitch looks back at the week that was in the NBA, Pat Riley keeps the Knicks in the bull market mode, pursuing the title the Bulls have held for the last 3 years.
It was a crazy week on the New York Stock Exchange, and it was an up-and-down week in the NBA. While brokers were going bonkers on Wall Street, Knicks fans were going wild at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks went undefeated in the month of March, going 14-0, the first perfect month in club history. New York earned that distinction this week with an 11-point win over Charlotte. The key has been the Knicks' backcourt. Since John Starks' injury against Atlanta on March 9th, Derek Harper and Hubert Davis have given the Knicks added spark. Harper feeling much more comfortable running Pat Riley's offense, while Davis has added solid perimeter shooting. Davis has had games of 25, 24, and 32 points during the streak. Lakers up this week. The Lakers have shown signs of recovery thanks to new coach Magic Johnson. Lakers 3-1 under Buck. Tuesday night against the T-Wolves, this Nick Van Exel layup with less than 2 ticks to go secured a 2-point win. On Friday, more net gains for the Lakers. Van Exel this time burning the Nets with 31 points. He hit 5 3-pointers in a convincing 13-point victory over the Rockets. There were major losses in Dallas this week. Quinn Buckner's fortunes continue to go in a downward spiral, clinching a winless March with a 25-point thumping at the hands of the Spurs. Houston down 3 Rockets. Hakeem Olajuwon serving a 1-game suspension for intentional physical contact with referee Bill Spooner Sunday. The NBA suspended and fined Carl Herrera and Olden Polynice for this incident on Tuesday, and Vernon Maxwell fined $10,000 for this second quarter incident. After berating officials and failing to leave the court, Mad Max tossed a cup of ice onto the floor of the Arco Arena. Huge profits for Reggie Miller and Shaquille O'Neal. Both superstars named to round out the roster of Dream Team 2. Shaq also seems to be reaping rewards on his latest investment. His rap album, Shaq Diesel, went platinum.
When we continue, Mike Krzyzewski shows off his vertical leap while Nolan Richardson keeps his feet firmly on the ground. Conversations with the coaches who are headed to the finale in a minute.
These days, people who really understand money carry the Discover Card. That's because the Discover Card Cashback Bonus Award is just that, cash. Everyone can use more cash, and there's no annual fee. That's why the Discover card is the choice of people who really know the drill. It pays to Discover, the card that pays you back.
In business, there never seems to be enough of it. And the last thing you can afford to do is run out of it. Time. So rest assured, Delta Airlines will help you make the most of it. With over 4,900 flights a day to over 300 cities around the world. And best of all, we'll make sure you arrive relaxed and refreshed with plenty of time to spare. Delta Airlines.
Is this a basketball legend chasing a dream? Or is this the best marketing coup ever? Outside the Lines takes a look at Michael Jordan's Dream Spring. Tomorrow night at 8 Eastern, only on ESPN.
Sports Weekly is presented by Delta Airlines. You'll love the way we fly.
Right up until game time, a lot is going to be said about Grant Hill and Corliss Williamson. There's no denying their importance to their respective teams, but they do get a lot of help. Steve Cyphers takes a look at their supporting casts.
Ask Razorback fans to identify Saturday's hero, and they'll name Corliss Williamson. But ask Williamson, and he'll name Corey Beck. On the bench with 4 fouls and Arkansas trailing by 5, it was Beck who returned to action with 12 minutes left. Getting his team back in the offensive flow, he triggered a 12-point run. It was capped by this play that Beck began at the defensive end. The Hogs led by 7 and never looked back.
We come out and play hard and aggressive the way that we know how to play. I think we're capable of beating anybody.
He's the head of our team. And, you know, when your head is gone, the body is kind of lost. But once we got our head back in the game, you know, it was hard for Arizona to beat us.
If Corey's the head, what are you?
I guess you can say the feet, the foundation.
Duke's foundation is Grant Hill. His second-half effort rallied the Blue Devils from a 13-point deficit. But like Williamson, Hill needed help to close the deal. With a 1-point lead and 48 seconds left, Marty Clark stripped Florida's Dan Cross of the ball.
Come up with the big play. That's a tremendous honor. And you know, I'm glad I did it. I'm sure, you know, if I didn't, one of my other teammates would have.
On the same possession at the other end, Jeff Capel passed to Cherokee Parks, who put it up with 18 seconds left. But it didn't fall. The first time.
I saw Jeff drive in, and I knew there was somebody behind me, and I wasn't sure who he was going to pass it to, so my momentum was already going towards the bucket, and I put that up, and I could tell as soon as I let go, it wasn't going to go in. So, fortunately, it just rimmed out and rimmed my way.
Now up by 3 with 11 seconds left, the Gators had one last chance to tie until Antonio Lang drew the charge on Cross.
It just really felt good, you know, to be in position to take that charge. And at that point of the game, I mean, that takes a lot of courage. And I knew the game situation. I realized that we had a foul to give. And I said, hey, what the heck? I just have to go after it.
Going into Monday night, you'll hear the names Williamson and Hill most often. But given Saturday's semifinals, don't be surprised if a lesser-known name keys the decisive run or makes the decisive play. In Charlotte, Steve Cyphers, ESPN.
Grant Hill has that ability to make those around him much better, but he's going to need a little help from Antonio Lang. He did get that key block late, but in the first half, he was pretty non-existent.
Well, what happened to Antonio Lang in the first half? He ends up getting 3 personal fouls, only plays 10 minutes. He cannot afford to get into that same circumstance against Arkansas. He's too good a player. He's got to be a slash player. He's got to be active. He's got to get his 19 points and be one of the guys that can key and stay with Arkansas when Arkansas makes those runs.
Well, you know, Corliss certainly deserves all the plaudits. He's the standout. He's the money guy, the guy they go to like they did against Michigan when the game was on the line, and certainly against Arizona. But I love Corey Beck. He's been a member of my All-Rambo team, a defensive stopper. He gets right in your face. He's a coach's dream. He does all the little things that a coach wants. And another good role player, Mr. McDaniel. If you need the 3, you need the explosiveness to the goal, he makes the big play. So believe me, there'll be a lot of supporting guys who will help the coronation of a king come Monday.
That's true. We'll take a TO, babies, and we'll see you on SportsCenter 11:30. All right. And then there were 2. Only 2 teams remaining standing from the field of 64. For Nolan Richardson, this is his first appearance in the championship game. Mike Krzyzewski has taken Duke to the finals 5 times, winning twice. We spoke to both coaches last night. Larry Conley sat down with Nolan Richardson, and I had a chance to have a chat on court with Coach K. Well, Coach Mike Krzyzewski said it was going to be an ugly game. It was a very exciting game.
It was exciting.
Wonderful to watch. How about the coach?
Well, the coach is ugly right now. He's very tired. I thought it was a great college game, and you had outstanding defenses from both teams, and we had a phenomenal performance in the second half by a phenomenal player in Grant Hill, and that was the difference. We had Grant, and they didn't. Grant's been the best player I've ever coached, and I think against Florida, he showed why we've advanced as far as we have.
Okay, now you advance against Arkansas. Grant played 40 minutes. Cherokee Parks played 40 minutes. Are you concerned about Arkansas's depth?
I think that's the main concern, and their talent level. Nolan is an outstanding coach, and what he's done is he's put together a team that can give you different looks. He's developed his depth, which is a key. A lot of coaches can't do that. And he's done it well, and he can give you that big look, and he can give you that smaller look. And both of them punch you pretty hard. And in Williamson, I think they have one of the top 4 or 5 players in the country.
And of course, they have the #1 fan in the country, President Clinton. How's that feel, having the president up there?
Well, I wish you'd take Corliss Williamson's place. I've seen him jogging, and I'd rather play against him than Corliss Williamson. But that doesn't bother us. And I'm glad that he's showing such an interest in college basketball. And I heard one of the Florida's players say that he's made some wrong decisions before, so hopefully that'll be one on Monday night.
Keep that sense of humor.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Coach K. Thank you.
Nolan, was that the best game that Corliss Williamson has played since he's been playing for you?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think Corliss has had a lot of great ball games. He had several games before we even got to this point, and then, of course, in the tournament, he's really been playing very well. It's one of those days where we're able to give him the ball. And Corliss down low, it takes him more than a man to stop him, at least 2 or 3 to get around him. And today, he showed that he can pass the ball also when you're trapped. And that was the thing that I thought was the real great part of Corliss's game today.
I want to ask you another question. All year long, you've been ranked very high in the polls, and yet I get the feeling talking to you and some of the players all year long that you really haven't gotten the respect that you think you deserve.
Well, that's very obvious. That's just the way it is. We're a basketball team down in Arkansas. I think we've got as good a basketball, particularly in the Southeast Conference, that's being proved right today, that around the country have. They just don't know about us. And I think what has happened is that the fact that we're a football conference, and Kentucky has been so good over all those years that no other school has ever stepped up. It is a great basketball conference. I mean, there are much better athletes in the Southeast Conference than any other conference in the country.
And will this win Monday night give you that deserved respect?
I certainly would like to win the ball game. I don't care about the respect that I don't get because I know who I am, and that's the most important thing. I know what type of coach I am, and so I can live with Nolan. I mean, I can read about what others say or listen to what others may say, but as I tell our kids, the most important guy is yourself.
Thank you, Nolan.
Thank you.
I'll be back in 30 minutes with the Sunday morning edition of SportsCenter. Dick and Digger will be back as well. That and a great deal more at 11:30 on SportsCenter, right after Dick Schaap and the Sports Reporters, which is coming up next as Sunday Sports Day rolls on live from Charlotte.